What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs. And tonight I'm here to break down the Chiefs' 26-7 victory over the Miami Dolphins in Arrowhead in the wild card round of the NFL playoffs. Chiefs win. They're moving on to the divisional round. A dominant defensive performance once again against the Miami Dolphins. The Chiefs really just stifled the Dolphins' offense in this game once again. You have to imagine that the frigid temperatures did work in their favor just a little bit. I know Tua Tagovailoa after the game said to the media that the cold kind of bothered him a little bit. He was upfront about that. Now, I'm sure it bothered the Chiefs players too, to an extent. They're just not going to talk a bunch about it because when you're talking about temperatures this cold, even a lot of players on the Chiefs aren't used to that type of weather. It can affect. But I think when talking about this game, you really have to start with the defense just because of how good they were. They really carried the Chiefs throughout this game because even though the offense really cleaned a lot of things up and I was encouraged by the offense's performance tonight, we'll definitely get to that. But man, the defense deserves their credit because the offense did struggle in the red zone for most of the game, and the defense was right there to have their back. Even I remember there was a sequence before the end of the first half. The Chiefs got the ball back with about 4 minutes left and then ended up punting not even a minute later because the offense went 3 and out. And it didn't matter. The defense stood their ground. They didn't let the Dolphins get anything. They never really let the Dolphins get back into this game. And really, outside of the big play to Tyreek Hill, in which Trent McDuffie kind of lost track of the ball, and that's something that he's always kind of struggled with. Trent McDuffie, sorry, he fully deserved his All-Pro that he earned this year, but that is one thing that he does continue to struggle with is tracking the ball in the air. And really this Chiefs DB group in general, for whatever reason, they just lack ball skills. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a lack of coaching or if it's just the collection of guys they have just all happen to not be very good at ball tracking. But it is what it is. McDuffie still had a great game regardless, and he also kind of got his get back on Tyreek Hill there later in the game when he popped him behind the line of scrimmage, a big tackle that really sent a message. But Tyreek Hill had 5 catches for 62 yards, most of those 62 yards coming on that big play, which Trent McDuffie committed pass interference. But outside of that, the Miami Dolphins offense really did not do anything in this game. Tua Tagovailoa threw for less than 200 yards, and he had an interception that he threw to Mike Edwards. Mike Edwards continues to have a knack for coming up with the football on defense. But, man, the Chiefs rush defense in this game. That's what I really want to talk about. Devon Achane only averaged 1.5 yards per carry. He came into this game averaging 8 yards per carry for the entire season. He had like 800 rushing yards and about 100 carries this year. He was a beast for Miami this year. He did not play in that Germany matchup earlier in the season. And so that was a matchup I was going to be looking at, was the Chiefs run defense trying to stop Devon Achane because the Chiefs were ranked 18th in the NFL in rush defense coming into this game, but they really just emphasized stopping the run in this game. I think they've always been capable as long as they're just willing to put in the effort to stop the run. I don't know if the effort's always fully there during the regular season. I think kind of down the stretch, though, they refocused on stopping the run because this team needed the defense to really step up because the offense struggled so much. But nonetheless, Devon Achane didn't really do anything this game. Raheem Mostert, they weren't even sure he was going to play. He had 8 carries for 33 yards. Didn't really kill you. Yeah, guys, I mean, you got to be impressed with the defense. And if there was a player that I want to single out in particular, that has to be Nick Bolton. He led the team in tackles tonight. He had 10 total tackles. He was an absolute menace all over the field. And it was just nice to see him have a game like that because I find myself saying this just about every time. I get really sick of the people on social media talking about Nick Bolton, constantly talking about how he has the shortcomings in coverage. We all know that. But if you're one of those people that always is ragging on Nick Bolton during the games, you have to give credit where it's due because Nick Bolton was awesome tonight. He was all over the field. He was in coverage on Tyreek Hill there in the intermediate field. He had a couple really big stops in tonight's game. He just looked awesome. Nick Bolton is a playoff warrior. He may not always have the greatest game in the regular season, but if you look at the past few playoff games that Nick Bolton has played in, going back to last year's Super Bowl, dude's been a monster, just getting stops all over the field. Give credit where it's due. Nick Bolton had a fantastic game tonight. Drew Tranquil as well. L'Jarius Sneed continues to lock down just about everyone he goes up against, including Tyreek Hill again tonight. I don't know if you guys saw those clips, but he was jamming Tyreek Hill at the line, just him up at the line and just treating him like his son. It was honestly really funny to watch. And again, outside that big play, Tyreek Hill didn't really do anything. And it's extremely difficult to lock up a player completely twice in a row, especially when you're talking about a player as elite as Tyreek Hill. You were never going to fully keep him out of the game twice consecutively in one season. I mean, he's Tyreek Hill. He's going to have his big plays, but for the most part, really kept him in check, and he didn't do too much damage. That's thanks to L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie. Both those guys just continue to have a really good year, and I got to say it, man, L'Jarius Sneed, how did he not make All-Pro? I mean, again, McDuffie fully earned his, but how the hell was L'Jarius Sneed not an All-Pro this year? He was shadowing the other team's best receivers all year long, and he was doing a damn good job. I mean, L'Jarius Sneed this year rivaled something that Darrelle Revis would have done. That's how good L'Jarius Sneed was this year. Like, you put up a list of all the number one wide receivers he's gone up against this year and their stats against Sneed. He was ridiculous. I mean, I don't know how he didn't get All-Pro or a Pro Bowl. I mean, just to have no accolades. I mean, they really did rob L'Jarius Sneed this year. So sucks for him, but I mean, he continues to go out there and prove the doubters wrong and show up when it matters. The Dolphins only had 264 total yards of offense tonight. They only averaged 4.5 yards per play. They were 1 of 12 on third down, guys. I mean, give it up for the Chiefs' third down defense tonight. Absolutely magnificent. They were able to sack Tua a couple times. George Karlaftis, Chris Jones, they were getting in there. Charles Omenihu, he didn't really show up in the box score tonight, but he was getting pressure pretty consistently. Another really good game by Charles Omenihu, who quietly had 7 sacks this year despite being out for the first 6 games of the season. That was a career high for him. I love what Charles Omenihu brings to this defensive line, and he showed up again. Overall, tonight was business as usual for the defense. I'm not surprised whatsoever by their performance tonight. This game was going to be about whether or not the offense could put enough points or put up enough points to beat Miami, because I felt as if the Chiefs were just simply able to break 20 points in this game, that they would win, because that the magic number that I've said all year long is 24 points. If the Chiefs score 24 points in all their games this year, I think they would have had like 12 or 13 wins or something like that. I mean, that's really all this offense needs to do. We're not asking them to score 30 or 40 points a game anymore. The defense. So you don't need to put up that many points. But I was afraid just a little bit coming into this game that the Dolphins skill position players would be able to break it open a little bit, just because of how good they are, how fast the wide receiver duo of Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill is. They do have the ability to put up points. I know people were talking a lot about how the Dolphins struggle against the better teams. They struggle on the big stage. Their offense underperforms in these types of games, all that stuff. I heard fans talking about that. And while that's true, you could say the exact same thing about the Chiefs. So this game was about which offense wanted to show up, which offense wanted to step up. And that was the Kansas City Chiefs. The offense did not turn the ball over at all tonight, which is actually out of the norm. So you did see that playoff switch get flipped potentially in this one, where the offense, took it more seriously. They weren't, doing stupid turnovers or anything like that. Now, there are a couple things that I do have to complain about on offense in this game. First of all, McCole Hardman, what is even the point of him being out there? Because he's supposed to be this deep threat, this guy that Patrick Mahomes takes a bunch of deep shots with, yet every single time he was targeted tonight, it seemed like he just was not even, he had no interest in trying to catch a pass. Wasn't even trying, wasn't putting his arms out, quit on his route, stopped running. There was a play where he, was interfered with and it didn't get called. And I understand he was upset with that, but he quit on the play before it was even over. The ball was still catchable and McCole Hardman was complaining to the ref. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I'm done with the McCole Hardman experience. This is why I said to you guys when we traded for him before the deadline, I don't get it. McCole Hardman is a failed wide receiver. And I had a bunch of people in my comments saying, oh, you know what you're talking about. McCole Hardman can help this team, blah, blah, blah. Guys, we've done this for 5 years now. McCole Hardman is not it. He is a failed wide receiver. He has zero chemistry with Mahomes. He cannot ball track to save his life. He quits on his routes. He's been playing with Mahomes for 5 years and still doesn't know to keep running. It is one of the fundamental things that you need to learn when playing with Patrick Mahomes is to never quit on your route, yet McCole Hardman does it seemingly every single time. That really pissed me off because the Chiefs should have put up 30 points in this game. They should have ran away with this one, even despite the bad weather. This offense was clicking. The Dolphins probably didn't anticipate how much they threw tonight. I really liked that approach because everyone wanted to talk about how Isaiah Pacheco is going to pound the rock in this game. The Chiefs are going to run the ball a ton. And usually that's how it goes in cold weather games. And usually cold weather games are pretty low scoring, which is why I'm not too upset with the red zone offense tonight. That was one of the things that I was going to point out as a negative. But I do have to say that this was one of the coldest games in NFL history. If you go and look at most of the coldest games in NFL history, they're low scoring. It just is what it is. I remember that Vikings-Seahawks game several years ago, the Blair Walsh missed kick game. That one was like 9-6 was the final score, something like that. So these games tend to be low scoring, but despite that, the Chiefs offense really moved the ball pretty well. They did get some help from the refs tonight. I will say that. Now, they were all legitimate calls, like the Christian Wilkins roughing the passer. I mean, he had 2 full steps to try and stop, but instead he just went full send into Patrick Mahomes well after he got rid of the ball. So I don't understand how casual NFL fans can complain about that one. That's blatant as day. That's a pass, or I'm sorry, a roughing the passer. So Christian Wilkins deserved that one. And he was doing that all night too. Like he was getting away with pushing players after the play all night. About halfway through, you could kind of tell, hey, the Dolphins don't have it tonight. If you get in the end zone for most of the night, there were some mishaps in the red zone. There was a touchdown that got called back because of a Jawan Taylor block in the back, and a lot of people are going to continue to just pile on to Jawan Taylor, and I get it. And the penalties have been atrocious this year from him. But go back and watch that play. Jawan Taylor actually got shoved in the back by a Miami Dolphins defender, and he fell into or it was actually Justin Houston. He fell into Justin Houston, and the refs just didn't see it, and that's why it got called a block in the back. But that should not have been called. Jawan Taylor got pushed by a Miami Dolphins player. That one's not on him. If that doesn't happen, the Chiefs probably do pass the 30-point threshold in this game because they were otherwise pretty good. Again, moving the ball. Harrison Butker, we got to give him credit for making all of his kicks tonight, especially in that weather. And the Chiefs offense, even if they weren't able to convert in the red zone, were able to, get Butker within 30 yards. They didn't ask him to do anything ridiculous. So I did like seeing that from the offense. A 41 for 262 yards and 1 touchdown. People are going to look at the completion percentage and be like, but I mean, if you were watching the game, guys, Mahomes really did a good job. And he did a good job getting rid of the ball a lot because the Miami Dolphins just kept blitzing and blitzing and blitzing. Once they caught on to the fact that the Chiefs were throwing the ball most of the time, they were going full send at Patrick Mahomes with their defense. And Mahomes was not sacked at all tonight, I don't think. Yeah, 0 sacks allowed by the Chiefs offensive line. So you got to give it up to them there. The offensive front was really good tonight. Mahomes was good at seeking out those protections before the ball was even snapped. There was a play. Mike Tirico even said it on the broadcast. I think Pacheco's staying because Mahomes was like, you're staying in to Pacheco. You could hear it on the broadcast. And it's because he knew the blitz was coming. So he called for Pacheco to stay in the backfield and pass block. So Mahomes was really good tonight. Also running with his legs, just the timely plays on the ground, avoiding the pressure. He's always been super good at that. And then, of course, there was the run where he cracked his helmet, and that was pretty gnarly because I've never seen that before. I've never seen a helmet like break, like a whole piece was broken out of his helmet. Dude looked like a freaking cyborg, and he was mowing over Miami Dolphins defenders. Man, they really stepped up tonight, guys. The offense as a whole. Rashee Rice, 8 catches for 130 yards and 1 touchdown. And that's even after getting hurt. He came back in and got a huge first down. He was killing it on those slant routes tonight. That was a career high for Rashee Rice, too, in receiving yards, 130 yards. He had never done that in a game before. And then, of course, his first career playoff game goes off. That's exactly what you want to see from a guy like Rashee Rice as the Chiefs enter the postseason. Travis Kelce had 7 catches for 71 yards as well. Justin Watson, Noah Gray getting in on the action. Mahomes spread the ball out just a little bit tonight. There was Richie James that had a clutch first down in this one as well. Just playing keep away from the Dolphins. What else am I forgetting? Travis Kelce, got to clean up the drops, man. Get your head out of your, you know what, you're better than that. I know that ball is as cold as a brick and sometimes it's hard to catch, but you're wearing football gloves. So there's really no excuse for these wide open passes to be dropped. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that's who I wanted to talk about before I go ahead and wrap this one up. I've been really hard on him. You guys know that. A lot of people have been hard on him, but I got to give credit where it's due. Down the stretch this season, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been making the most of his touches, just getting first downs, pushing the pile. We've never seen this type of play from Clyde or from CEH before. So credit to him for really coming on, especially in the absence of Jerick McKinnon. As Andy Reid has already said that they don't expect him back this postseason. That's unfortunate, but they're going to need him to step up. So good on CEH for stepping up in that spot, protecting the football, getting first downs. That's all you ask him to do. And he's doing it. So yeah, guys, this was a really good win. This was an encouraging performance by the offense, but we do have to acknowledge that the Miami Dolphins defense was really beat up. The competition's only going to get tougher. You're going to have to go up against potentially the Buffalo Bills next week. That's a good defense. So you got to keep improving. This is a good performance. Can't take that away from them, but you got to continue to build off of this and get better. But tonight was really encouraging, and it's yet another playoff win. The Chiefs, their season, it just wouldn't have. They beat the Miami Dolphins 26-7, and Tyreek Hill's homecoming Arrowhead. They're moving on to the divisional round to be the Buffalo Bills unless something crazy happens. Of course, that game was supposed to happen today, but got postponed because of the blizzard in Buffalo. We'll see what happens in that one, man, because if their weather is pretty crazy too. Sometimes you never know what can happen. A lot of people were expecting the Bills, including myself, but we've seen crazier things. So we'll see what happens there, and I'll talk about that playoff matchup whenever that result comes out. But with all that being said, guys, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. Leave your thoughts down below. I'll be sure to get to them. Yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Go Chiefs!